Hello everyone, I hope you guys are doing very well. This is the second part of noteApp with Firebase. In the previous part, we have learned how to connect Android Studio with Firebase. So if you haven't watched that video, I have posted a link in the description. You can watch it. Now our dependencies are ready. So go to your Android or your Firebase project and then click on this database tab, then scroll down, create the database, start it in the log mode. Okay, and then click on authentication and sign in method, email and password. Your email and password method will be disabled. Okay, so you have to enable it from here and then save and then go back to your database. Okay, it seems it is not enabled yet, so enable it again. So here we go. Now why we need authentication if it is a simple node application? There are two reasons. The first reason is that our database is online, so if any user who has access to our application can view the node. So we do not want this. We only want those users who have made an account can view or can delete or edit the nodes. Okay, and the second reason is that we don't want user A to view the nodes of user B. So we will add a little security to the node so that I can only view my nodes and the user A can only view his or her nodes. Okay, so open up your Android Studio, create a new activity, an empty activity, name it as account or name it as create account. Change the constraint layout to linear layout. Okay, first give it an orientation of vertical and then weight sum of 10. Now we need another linear layout within it. Give it width as a match parent and height of 0 dp because we will use the layout weight and we want it to have a weight of 9. Okay, copy this, paste it and change the layout weight from 9 to 1 and within it add a text view and give it a text, something like already have account, or if the user has already account he should log in instead of sign up. Okay, so if the user have already account, log in here. Okay, so I have added my own colors. This is my color.xml file, so you can add your own favorite colors, or I will upload the project to that GitHub. You can use these colors. Okay, so now I will give it a background color. Now I want it to be in the center, so and then the layout gravity. Okay, so now our text view is within the center. Just add it a little, make it a little bold. Okay, so text style bold and then let's give it a color of text color. Okay, so it looks good now. And within this first part, or the first linear layout, which has a weight of 9, we need edit text. Okay, 3 edit text, one for the username, other for the email and password. And we need a button as well. Okay, now first give it an orientation of vertical, and then just remove this layout weight. Okay, now give it a gravity center. Now give this button a margin from top of 20 dp. Okay, why I have selected this lower device here, it is because I want my this layout to be fit on every device. Okay, so you should select the lowest version from here, and then you have to design it according to this. Okay, if it fits onto the lower or smaller screen, then of course it will look good onto a bigger screen. Okay, now okay, instead of giving a layout weight of 9, let's just give it a layout of 8, and then now we should paste our button from here in here. Okay, and now it has a margin, so we have to remove it. We do not need this margin anymore, and we do not need the background color. And then we need a background to this button. Okay, it does not look good, so let's have a different background. Okay, let's just name it as sign up, and let's give it a height of 40 dp. Okay, now remove this text, or just paste hint here, and okay, we need to remove this text and write hint, and so that user can know he has to write email here. Okay, now it looks good. So now we need to change the IDs. Okay, so it's good now. Now in the create account.java class, we have to get this edit text here. So the first one is password, then username, and then it's email. Okay, and then we need buttons. Okay, so we can add a click listener onto the button, but we can have on click from the XML as well. So we will use the on click of XML. On click, so whenever we clicked on this button, we want to uh, let's just give it create account method. We want to call this method. Okay, so whenever user clicks on this button, we will call this method create account. So now we need to create this method here, and make sure you have passed the view as a parameter. And when the user clicks on this text view, okay, so then we want to open the login activity. So we will set the on click, so name it as open login act. Now create this method here, and make sure you have passed the view as a parameter. Okay, now we need to create the login activity. Copy the XML from account create activity and paste it into the login activity. Now change the context from create to login, and this time we do not need the username, so we can remove it from here, and we can give it a little margin from the top. Let's say 10 dp. Okay, and this time instead of sign up text, we want login onto the button. Okay, and then we will change this text from here to don't have account, sign up here. Okay, and then when the user clicks on this button, we will open the sign up activity. Now go to your Java login.java and create this method, and also pass the view as a parameter. And when the user clicks on login button, we want to call the method let's say access account. Okay, so create this method here, and make sure you pass the view as a parameter. Now we need to cache the edit text here. So edit text, the first one is password and the second is email. Okay, when the user clicks on this login text view, so then we have to open the login activity. So we need to start the activity. Okay, copy this, and within the login.java, if the user clicks on sign up text view, then we have to open the sign up activity. So open the create account activity, and when we have opened that activity, we need to finish this previous activity, and in the same way we will finish this activity here. Okay, now when the user clicks on create account button, then we have to create the account for the user. So we need okay, so now for the creations of user accounts into Firebase, we have to use the Firebase authentication. Okay, so now we need to use Firebase auth. Firebase auth is used to manage the user accounts. Okay, so now initialize this auth, assign this value firebase.get instance. Okay, now if the user is already signed in, then we do not want the user to view this activity. So on resume method, we will check if auth dot get current user. If current user is not equals to null, okay, then we need to start the main activity. We do not want the users to stay here, so we will start the main activity. And similarly, in login.java activity, if the user is already signed in, we do not want the users to stay here. Now when the user clicks on create account or sign up button, then first we have to get the values of these edit text. So get the string value from the edit text, password str, which means password in string form, password.get text.string, and then make sure you trim it so that there are no white spaces. And we need now username as str, and then we need email str. Get the username and then get the email. Okay, now we need to check if any of these field is empty, then we will generate the toast and ask the user to make fill all these fields. Okay, so we have to use the Android built-in class for this. If text util dot is empty, password str, or if the username is empty, or if the email is empty, then we will generate the toast. Please enter all fields. Okay, if the user has filled all the fields, then we want to create the user account. So we have to use the auth dot create user with email and password, this method. Okay, the first one is email, so pass the email str, and then second is the password str. Okay, and then we need to add the listener, success listener. So if this operation is successful, if the account is successfully created, then first we will generate the toast. And we will say that account created. So now we cannot pass this here. Okay, so we have to use the original context. And okay, so now we need to save the user information into our database as well. Okay, so it will be present in the authentication, but we need those values within our database. So for that we have to create a model. So first create the package, name it as models. Now create a Java class, name it as user model. And things we need in the model is, the first thing is the node address, or it is the ID you can say, and the second thing is the username. The third thing we need is the email, and the last thing we need is the password. Now create the constructor for all these values, and we need to create an empty constructor as well. The Firebase requires this empty constructor, and then we need to create the getter. Okay, so our model is prepared. Now we need to use it. And the account is successfully created. Now we can use okay, so first of all we have to use the Firebase database. So create a database reference. I will name it as root refs, and then get the Firebase database instance and then its reference, and then I will add a child to the original reference as a user. Okay, so and now we need okay, it's good. So when the user is successfully when the user account is successfully created, then a user ID will be generated for every user. Okay, so for every account, so we can use that user ID in as a node address. Okay, so how? Okay, now let me show you the structure of our database. It will be like this one. Okay, so first we will have a user node, and then we will have a user ID like this way, and then we will have a username, then we will have we have username, then we will have the email of the user, and then we will have the password of the user, and then of course we will have the node address which will of course be user ID. Okay, so we want our database structure like this. So now we are here, we have added the now we have get the reference to these users, and then now we need the user ID. So let's say string uid or user ID equals to auth dot get current user dot get uid. Okay, now we need the model. So user model, import the class user model object equals to new user model, and the first parameter is the node address which is uid, and the second is username, then email and password. So username is username str, then email str, then password str. Okay, now we can store this value within the database. So we have to use rootref dot child. Now we need to create its child, and the child will be user ID. So we have to pass the uid, and then we need these values, and these values are present within our model. So we can simply set the value to this user value. Okay, in this way. Now we can also add a failure listener. Okay, so now we need to add the failure listener for this. So if the account is not created, we'll show the user why it is not created. The first log or the first toast we will generate is let's say error, then new line, and then we will show the original message from the Firebase. Okay, now we also need one more thing, and it is progress dialog, so that user can know something is like processing is going on. We don't want the user to cancel this dialog uh, until there is an error, or if the operation is successful or the operation is failed. Okay, so unless we do not want the user to cancel the dialog. So now if the fields are incomplete, we want to dismiss the dialog. If the process is successful, we want to dismiss the dialog. If we got error, we want to dismiss the dialog. So we are good here. Now we need the same logic in the login.java. So let's just create the dialog first. Copy these values from here and paste them in here. Okay, so in this activity we don't have the username, so we only need the password and email. So now we need to check them if they are empty. If text util dot is empty, if password is empty, or if uh, the email is empty. Okay, so we need to generate the toast here, and we will say please enter all fields, and then we need to show it, and then we also need to dismiss the dialog. So let's just create a dialog here, dialog dot set message, and then dialog dot set cancelable as false, and then show the dialog. Okay, if the fields are not empty, then we need to use the auth dot sign in with email and password method. Okay, and we need to pass email and password, and then we need to add the success listener. And then we need to add the failure listener as well. Okay, so if we have successfully logged in, then we will show that login successful, and if you got any error, we will show the error. Okay, now if we have successfully logged in, so we want the user to move towards the main activity. Okay, so we will have to start the main activity, and then we will finish the current activity. In the same way, if the user account is created successfully, then we will move the user from create account activity to main activity, and then we will finish the previous activity. So it's good now. Now within the main activity, we will have the list of nodes. Okay, so the first thing we need is the recycler view. Within the main activity, I have added the dependency, so now I will open the XML file and change it to linear layout. Remove the text view and add a recycler view. Give it an ID. Okay, copy this ID and make sure you give the background color of app color here. So within the main activity, we need to get this recycler view. So recycler view, then recycler view equals to recycler view, find view by id or dot id recycler view. Now set the layout manager, and it will be the linear layout manager. Okay, now we need adapter for the recycler view, but before adapter, let's just create a menu here. Okay, so that user can add the nodes from the menu. Like we will create a button at the top. Okay, so first we have to create the menu. So on options, on create option menu is the first method we need for creating the menu, and then if the options are selected, then we need to use this option item selected. Okay, so it will give us the item which is selected, and then you will get the id from that item. So in selected id equals to item dot get item id, and within this menu we need to inflate the menu, so we will use the get menu inflator dot inflate method or dot menu dot main menu, and the second parameter we will pass is the menu. So now we need to create the menu directory here, and now we need to create the menu resource file, so it is main menu, and within this menu we need to create the item, give it a title of new node, and give it id, give it icon of ic action add. I have added my own icon, okay, within the tribal, and then we need the show as always. Okay, now copy this id from here, and if the selected id is equals to or dot id dot new node, then we will start new node activity. Okay, so then we will start the new node activity. So now we need to create the new node activity. It will be the empty activity, but before doing this, let's just create a package and name it as CRUD. Within this package, create the activity, name it as create node. Now we need to change the layout into linear. Okay, give the orientation as vertical, give the background app color. Now we need the edit text in here, so drop the edit text and change the text into hint and write enter your node. Okay, give the id as node text and text multiline. Okay, and give it a padding of 12 dp, so that is it looks nice. Okay, now just close the XML, and within the create node activity, import the R class, then cache this edit text. Okay, now we need the database reference, Firebase database root reference, so that we can add the value to the database. Okay, now we need to get the reference. Okay, so this is not Firebase database, it is the database reference, so we have to change it. now we need the Firebase database, the instance, then get reference, and then the child would be nodes. Okay, in the way we have designed the user structure, now we need the node structure. Okay, so the top node will be nodes, then we will have the user ID. Okay, and then we will have the node ID, and then we will have node text in here, and then we will have timestamp, and then we will have the node ID here. Okay, so this is the structures for the nodes. So now we have the nodes here. Now first we have to create the menu here, so let's just create the menu on create menu, on options, items selected. Okay, so create a new menu within the menu directory and name it as create node. We need just one item here, and give it a title as save, give it the ID as save node, and show it as always. Okay, now copy the ID, and first we have to inflate this menu, so use the menu inflator, then inflate it, or dot menu dot create node. Now we need to check if item dot get item ID is equals to r dot id dot save node. If the user clicked on to a save node, the first thing we need is the string from the edit text. Okay, so node str equals to node text. Then we need to check it. If it is empty, we will generate the toast. If the node is not empty, then we will save it into the database. So first we need the model, as we have created the model for the user. So now we need to create the model for the node. So node model, then we need two things. The first thing would be the node text here, and then the second thing would be the timestamp at which the user has created the node, and the last thing is the node address. Okay, yeah, it's enough. So now we need the constructor for all these values, and then we need the empty constructor, and now we need the getter for all these values. So now we can use this model into the create node activity. Okay, so now we need to pass the values. The first parameter is the node text, which is node str. The second parameter is the timestamp, so we do not need to pass this value from the activity. We can use it here because we will be passing the system dot current time from there, so we don't need to do this from there. We can do it from here as well. So just change it into the long and make sure the return value is long as well, because the system dot current time millisecond returns the values or the current time of the system in the longs. Okay, so we have to use the long data type. Now the second value we need is the node address. So we have to use So now we need to generate a key. So we have to use the Firebase method, which Firebase provide. Root reference. The first. Okay, let me just complete this line. Now what is? Okay, now we need the reference at which we want to generate the ID. Then we need to use the push method. Then we need to use the get key method. Okay, so it will generate unique IDs for this node. Okay, so we can, so every time we use this line, it will generate a unique ID. So now we have the ID, and we will use this ID as we will use this key as a node address. Okay, so now our model is prepared, we can use it. So root reference dot child, the first thing we need is the user ID here. Okay, so we need the user ID. So we can get this user ID from the auth. So let me just get the Firebase auth here. Now we need to use auth.get current user .get UID. Okay, so this is the user ID of the current user. We need it, and then we need the node address or the key. Okay, and then we need to set the value. Then we will add the success listener. If the value is successfully added to the database, we will generate a toast, and then we will finish this activity. So we will generate the toast, and then we will finish this activity. If you got any error, we will also show the toast. Now we will say error. Okay, so we are good here. Now within the main activity, we need to start this activity. Okay, now we are able to save the nodes. So now the first thing was create in the CRUD operation. The first thing is create, the second is read. So now we need to read the values from the database. So we will create a method here. Let's just say public void nodes reader. Okay, so we need the database here, Firebase database, and we will call it as a root ref. And then we need the Firebase auth. So assign the values to them. Okay, so this is not Firebase database, this is database reference, so we need to change it. Okay, now we need to use this root reference. Then within this root ref there is a user ID. Okay, so now we need the user ID here, dot child auth dot get current user dot get the user ID, and then we need to add a listener. Okay, so we need to add child email listener. Okay, so this is the listener, and it has 5 methods. Okay, so whenever a new child is added to this root, okay, so this node, whenever a child is added, then on child added method is called. Whenever child is changed, then this method is called. If it is removed, or if it is moved, or it is cancelled, okay, so these methods will be called whenever anything happens to this this address or this node. Okay, like whenever anything whenever a new node is added to this node, a node is removed, okay, a value is changed, so this listener, the methods of this listener will be called. Okay, now uh, the value from the database, we get the value from the database. Okay, so whenever a new child is added, the whole value is delivered back from the database. Let me just log it for you so that you can better understand it. Okay, and then we will say this as child added, and let's just check this removed listener, this removed method. Okay, so now we need to call this method here. Okay, so this listener, and within this listener, this on child method is called whenever we call this method in our activity. Okay, first time it will be called when this method is called, then on child method is called. Okay, rest of the methods are not called, but this child on child added method is called when this method is called. And then the second time on child added method is called whenever a new child is added into the database. Okay, so on child added method is called twice in the application. First time when this nodes reader method is called. Okay, first time these lines get executed, then this method is called, and the second time on child added is called whenever there is a new child added within the database. Okay, so now let's just run the application. Okay, it is taking some time, so we have a recycler view here. Okay, so a recycler view needs the adapter, so let's just create adapter for the recycler view. First we have to create a package, name it as adapters, and then within this we need to create a class, name it as main activity adapter. Okay, then we need to extend this adapter from recycler view dot adapter, and then we need to define our view holder class. Okay, so I will say my view holder class. Now we need to implement the methods, so implement them. Now we need to create this my view holder class, so public class my view holder, here we are, and then we need to extend the recycler view dot view holder class. Okay, now we need to implement the constructor, so our recycler view is ready. Now within this recycler view we need a custom layout. Okay, so let's just create a layout. name it as note single row, change it to linear layout, and set the orientation as vertical, give it a weight sum of 10. Then we need okay, so give it a background color, we do not need the background color, I believe. Okay, so our application is launched and it is stopped. So let's see what's the issue. Open up your logcat. Now change it to error so that we can know where is the error. So it's, I don't know where it is. Let's just scroll up. So here we are. Default Firebase app is not initialized in this process. Make sure you call the Firebase.initialize context first. Unable to start the activity. Default Firebase app is not initialized. Okay, so main activity.java 35. Here we are. So what's the issue? Okay, let me just copy this. And Google this error so that we can know what's the real issue is. Here we have Google Services JSON file. Okay, so we are missing a dependency here. Okay, so I don't know where it has gone, but it's not here. So we need to apply this dependency. Now we need to sync our project. So thanks Stack Overflow. Now within this single node row, the first we need to add a linear layout, and let's give it a width of mesh parent, and then give it a height of rep content, I believe, and then give it a margin from everywhere of 10 dp so that it is a bit in the center, and then just give it a background of bottom nav, and within this linear layout we need two more linear layouts. Okay, so first so you do not need to worry about this, I am just creating it now. So let's just start the app again, and I hope this time it will be no error. Okay, we need this linear layout and width. Okay, now we need this linear layout with the orientation of horizontal, so, and we need the weight sum of 10. So the first so the width for this for the first child would be 0 dp, and height would be of course rep content, and then we will give it a layout weight of 1. Okay, and then for the second child we need the layout weight of 9. Okay, and within this second child we will have our text view with the height of a wrap content, with the width of wrap content and the height of a wrap content. Okay, now we need text so that we can know what's just going on. So let's say what is going on. Yo. Okay, now we need some padding, so give it a padding of 10 dp, or instead of here just put the padding the parent. Now we need, okay, so this, just make it bottom nap too because this color is very dark. Okay, now we need to add another text view for the date or the time. Okay, I will say something like 12 September 2018 at 5:45 p.m. So at this time the node is created. So now we need to give the orientation. So of course the orientation will be vertical. Okay, now we need the max line here. So max line will be 1 in here, and then the text size would be, let's say, 13 sp. Okay, so we have got another error. Let's just check out this one. Okay, so the error is here. Error is null pointer exception Java 44. Yeah, okay, so this is cool. Okay, so why the error occur? It is because we are starting the main activity and we are using the Firebase auth, and we are using the current user and the current user ID, but we have no account, we haven't created any account, so of course it will be null. So from the manifest file, make sure you change your intent filter from main activity to account create activity. Okay, so we want this activity to be a startup activity. Now just run it again. Okay, so now here we need another text view, let's say, and instead of text, just give it a background and bottom nap color, okay, as a background color. And let me just give it, okay, it's not visible, so give it a height of 10 dp and make sure it is matching the parent. So now it is visible. Yeah, here we are. So 10 dp is too much, let's give it 2 dp. Yeah, it looks good. And give it a little margin of 3 dp so that it looks nice. Now we want this text view to have the gravity of we want it towards the right side. Okay, so we should have the gravity towards the right, like this way. Okay, and within this first child we want an image view. Okay, or instead of image view we can use the text view as we have used here. We will just give it a line. Okay, so now we need to give it a height of wrap content or match parent, let's say. Okay, we do not need the margin. Okay, it's not visible, just leave it here better. Okay, here we go. So this is our single node, how the single node will look like. So we need 2 lines here, and then we need clip size as n. So like the text is greater than 2 lines, then we need to add these three dots at the end. Okay, so that's why we have used this clip size, and we have passed it to the end to it. So now we can remove this. We need to give it the ID. Okay, now we need to give it the ID of node text. Okay, we have given it, and within this date we have to change it, and we need to give it the ID of node date. Okay, so we are good to go now. Okay, so our activity is created. Let's check this time what we got. Okay, here we go, and this is our sign up activity. Okay, or create account activity. Let's just check. Okay, we are cool, the login activity is working. So we need to create account, so let's just create, and the password is 123. Let's see. Okay, now just click on sign up. So the progress dialog is working, account is created, we are good to go. Now we need to add a new node, so let's say let's say some value. Okay, so click on save. Firebase database error, permission denied. Okay, so we don't have any permission to enter the data, so let's just go towards the rules. Okay, so our rules are do not allow anyone, even if the user is authenticated or not, they do not allow to read the data or write the data. So we have to change these rules. So we have to say if auth.uid is not equals to null, then allow the read operation, and in the same way if auth.uid is not equals to null, allow the read operation and write operation both. Okay, so now we need to publish these rules. So our rules are published. Now try to save it, some value. Okay, so note is saved, and here we go. But the problem is our user data is not saved, and this is because at the time when the user account was created, our rules were set to false. Okay, so at that time when in the create account activity, okay, here when we were writing, so the rules were not allowing anyone to write or read the data, so we missed this user data. So that's very unfortunate, but it's okay. Now we need to view the logs. Okay, so we wanted to view the logs, so we just show you the logs. Okay, just go back, start the activity, noteApp Firebase. Okay, we are not receiving any logs. That's very strange. We have got this. Then we have got the child event listener. So why we are not receiving any logs here? Let's try to save some other note. Okay, note is saved, but we haven't received any log. Okay. root reference is nodes, then we have the user ID, then we have these values. So what's the issue? Okay, I have looked into the issue, and actually there was no issue. It was just taking some time to fire up these methods. Okay, so now we have received the value in the logs. Okay, so here is the first log that I have made to make sure that we are calling this method in the activity. And the second log, okay, so here is the second log, and this is the child added log created by the child added method. Okay, and then now there are two data snapshots. Okay, so the first data snapshots end here, and the second data snapshot is here. Now let's just try to create another node. So let's say another node and save it, and here we go. We have received another node, and this is just a single object. Okay, so this time this is just a single object, and this is because this method is called when the child is added into the database. We have received two data snapshot objects first time because the application was started. Okay, and the method read nodes was node reader was called. So I have told you that whenever whenever we are going to call that method, we will the onChild method will be called, and and the second time onChild method will be called when there is a new data added to the database. Okay, so I hope you have got this thing. Now, okay, so now you can see we are receiving this data in the form of an object. Okay, so we can use our node model. So we can use our node model here. Okay, so we can use node model, and then we can use node model object equals to data snapshot dot get the value, and we mount this value in the form of our node model object. Okay, so now we have received the value from the database into an object. So now we need to create the array list of objects so that we can keep track of all the nodes. So we need the array list of node model. So node models. Now just make sure we have to create a new object of the array list. So now we need to add this model into array list, node model object, and then okay, so now we have got this thing. Now our nodes are prepared. Now we need adapter. Okay, so here it is, the adapter class, and within the adapter class we have created our row. So now we can use this row here. So we have to create a variable or object for the view. So view equals to layout inflator dot inflate dot from. So first we have to pass parent context, and then we have to inflate our dot layout. So let's just import the art class. So it's not in the list. Dot layout. Okay. No. Dot layout dot load single row, and the second parameter is null. Now we need to create the object for this view holder class. Okay, so my view holder class object equals to new my view holder class, and we need to pass the view, and then we need to return this object. So instead of doing this, we can write it like this way. Okay, so it will make the same sense. So Now we need to pass. Okay, so we need to make sure that we use this layout params, otherwise our views will not fit onto the screens. Okay, so view dot set layout params, new recycler view dot layout params, and the first parameter is for the width, so we want it to be the match parent, so layout parents dot match parent. And the second parameter is for the height, so we want it to be the rep content. Okay, so layout parent dot rep content. So our view on create view holder is ready. Now we need the array list here as well. Okay, so array list, and array list of node model. So we need the node models. Now we need the constructor. Okay, so instead of returning 0, now we need to return the size of the node models. Okay, so node models dot size, and we need to get those text views here. So we need text view, and node text is the first, second is the node did. Okay, and we also need the context here as well, so context, and then we need to set its value to the item view context, and then node text equals to text view. Then we have to find it through the item view, so r.id.node text, and the second thing is the node date, so here we go. Okay, now within onBind view holder we have to bind our data, so my view holder, or we can simply change it to holder so that it's just a little easy to use. So node text dot set text, and we need to set the text from the models. Okay, so we need to get the model at this position, get at I, and then just get the node text from that model. Now for the date we have to use node date, then we need to get the timestamp, but the issue is it is the long value, so now we need to convert it into a more readable form. So first create a new package, name it as storeroom, and then create a new class within it, name it as store, and now just create a static method, public static string get read table date. That's it. Now we need to use the simple date format class. Okay, so simple date format equals to new simple date format, and we need to pass the pattern that we want. Okay, so we need the pattern something like day. Okay, then we need day, then we need month, and we need year, and then we need at, and then we need to pass hours, and then we need to use minutes, and then we need AM and PM. So now we need to return this, so we can simply return this thing as well. Okay, so we do not need this thing now, and then format the value and return it. Okay, so now we need to use this class in here, so store.get readable date, and here we go. Okay, so now we need to use this adapter within our main activity, so we need to create adapter object, so let's say adopt object. Now we need to import the class. Okay, import it. now now in here. Okay, you make sure that you use this adapter object after you have initialized or you have assigned value to your node models. Otherwise, because we will pass the node models into adopt into adopt object. Okay, so like this way. So if we passed node models and we have created the node model after we have used this main adapter, then it will pass null. So our main adapter will have null and it will generate error. Okay, so make sure you used it after you have created or assigned value to your node models. Now we need to set recycler view adapter. So set adapter, and this is adopt object. Okay, so now whenever there is a new data added, we need our adopt object to notify the data set changes. Okay, so we are good to go here. Now within this main adapter, since our single node throw allows only our maximum lines of 2, so if a node is longer than 2 lines, then it will not be visible to the user. Okay, so complete description will not be visible. So we want the user we want our application to make sure that user views all the complete node. So you have to create another activity and let's name it as a view node. Okay, so we have added a space. So now create this activity, and within this activity, first change the layout to linear layout, then orientation to vertical. Okay, now set the background first. Then we need weight sum of 10. Now we need two childs. So the first child would be would have a weight of 9. Okay, and the second child will have the weight of 1. And we want okay, so this second child will hold the date. Okay, so I want this date to be centered, so that's why I copied my linear layout from activity login.xml, because it was setting the child into the middle. Okay, so now we need to set a child to it. Okay, so we don't need the on-click listener for it, and in here instead of this we will have a date like this way. Okay, like this way. And okay, now in here we need scroll view, so that if the text is longer, the user can scroll the text view. Then match parent, wrap the content. Then we need text ID for it. I will name it as no text, and in here the ID would be not there. Okay, now just give it a padding of 10 dp. Now in new node.java class, import the R class and then catch those text view. The first one is the node text, the second is node date. Okay, and then we will actually we will start this clause from our adapter class. Okay, so whenever a user clicks onto a single node view, then we will expand that view into this view node.java class. So we will receive a bundle from that adapter class, so we will name as we will receive it from there. So I name it as unpackaged, because the bundle will have all the different values. Okay, so it is just a meaningful name, so that's why I just added as a unpackaged. So get the intent and then get the extras, and before that we have to use the node. We have to assign them the values, so note it, and then the second is node text, so it is here, node text. Okay, now within it we need to set this text, so let's set the text, and now we will get this text from the unpacker. Okay, and for the node date we have to first use the store dot get readable data class, because this is the date and it will be in the long form, so we have to convert it into the readable form, and then we will use unpacker and we will get the long value which we will send from the adapter class. Okay, now we are good to go. We need to create a menu for this one as well, so on create options menu, and then on options item selected. Okay, let's just create a menu and we will name it as view menu. Okay, so we will have two elements or two items within this menu. The first one would be, of course, delete node. Okay, and then you will give it an ID of delete, and we will say that okay, we need to set the show as action never, so that it is always in the drop down, and then we need to add the update node. Okay, so we need to add this item as well, so that user can also update the node. Okay, so within this view node we need to use this menu, so get menu inflator that inflate, and then we need to get the selected ID from the item. Okay, so if the item, okay, so if the selected ID is equals to r.id.delete, else if the selected ID is equals to r.id.update. Okay, so now we need to send the data from the adapter class. So here now we need to use the click listener, so order.itemView.set on click listener. If the item is clicked, then we will first we have to create a bundle. Okay, so now we will name it as a pack equals to new bundle. Now we need to pass the value, so pack.put the string, then the first value would be node, and we will get this value from the node model. Okay, and then to make sure I is final. Now this error. Okay, so we have made, okay, so we need to make this I final. Sorry. Okay, now the second is the date, so we need to get the timestamp and make sure this is long, and the third value is the node address. Okay, and make sure you get the node address, not this but this address. Okay, now we need to start the intent, so intent equals to new intent. The first parameter is the context and the second is the view node.class. Then we need to pass the bundle, so we need to use put extra method, and we need to pass the pack. Then we need to start the activity. Okay, so this is for the simple click listener. Okay, but if we also want to implement a long click listener. If the user clicks the view for a long period of time, then we will ask the user whether he wants to delete this node or not. Okay, so let's add holder item view dot set on long click listener. So if the user clicks the item view or the view for the longer period of time, then you will create the alert dialog. So alert dialog dot builder, just name it as a box, and then we will set the message as delete this node. Okay, and then we need to set okay, now there are two buttons for this alert dialog, the positive and the negative, and the both button accept the first parameter as the text for the button, so we will name it as delete, and then the second parameter is the on click listener. Similarly, for the negative button we will say cancel new dialog interface dot on click listener, and if the user clicks on the cancel button, we need to dismiss the dialog. Okay, now in the last we need to show the alert dialog, so alert dialog equals to box dot create and then dialog dot show. Now we need to implement the delete functionality. So first we have to get the Firebase auth, so auth equals to Firebase auth dot get instance. Then we need the Firebase database, so let's name it as, okay, instead of we can use this directly. Okay, so Firebase database dot get the instance, then the reference, then the child is of course the nodes, then the child is the auth current user UID, and then the child would be node models dot get at I, then get the node address. Okay, and then we need to remove this value, and then we will add the success listener. Okay, and then we will generate the toss if the node is successfully deleted from the database. We will say node deleted, and then the length for the toast, which is short, then show. Okay, and then if the node is not deleted, we need to set the failure listener, and then we will say error, and then new line, then e dot get message. Okay, so our adapter class is complete now. So okay, now we need this Firebase delete method functionality within the view node class as well. So if the user clicks on the delete options, then we will generate the alert dialog, and then we will ask whether he wants to delete the node or not. Okay, and since here we cannot use this node model, so we have to use the unpacker. Okay, so unpacker dot get string, and the string we have passed from the adapter class was node address. Then instead of context, we have to use the get application context. Okay, so we're good to go. Now if the user clicks on the update button or the upgrade option, then we need to we need to start the update activity. Okay, so before starting the update activity, we have to implement this on child changed on child removed method. Okay, so when the child will be removed from the database. Okay, so whenever user will press view for a longer period of time, a message alert dialog will generate, and if the user clicks on the delete button, the node will be deleted from the database. Okay, but the node will not be removed from the recycler view. Okay, so we have to remove the view from the recycler view as well. So for that we have to use a loop, so that we can check which node is actually which node model is deleted. So int I equals to 0, I is less than node models dot size, and then increment the I. Now we need to check if node models dot get at I dot get the node address, if it is equals to the data snapshot that key dot get key. If the node address is equals to the deleted node key, then we need to uh, remove this node from the node model array list. Okay, this way. And once we have removed it, we need to notify the data set changed, and then we need to break out of the loop. Okay, this is not the best way of doing things. So first we have to trim it, and then we have to use the string equals method instead of double equal. Okay, so now on child removed method is implemented. Now we need the update activity. So create an empty activity, name is as update node. So it's an XML for the update node will be same as the create node. Okay, it will have just a single added text like this way. Okay, and let's import the class. Then we need the added text here. Okay, and now we need to use the bundle. In the same way we have used the bundle into the view class, we have to use it here. Okay, so unpacker equals to get the intent, get the coming intent, and get the extras, and then we need to set the text for this added text. So we will get this text from the bundle, and then we also need to set the selection. Okay, so if we do not set the selection, then let me show you with the example. Okay, so now this is the normal edit text. Okay, but we are setting the previous text to this edit text in the update activity. Okay, so it will be like this way, something like some value. Okay, but we are not setting this cursor position, so our cursor would be at position 0, so it will not look good. So we want this cursor at the end of this edit text. Okay, so we have to set this. So now we will use node set dot set selection. This method will set the cursor position. Okay, so now we want this. Now we need to set its position. So its position would be where this string ended. Okay, so we need to set it the length of the string. Okay, so it will be at the end now, and we also need a menu here. So on options, item selected, then on options, item on options. Okay, so on create menu options, and we will use the menu the same menu we have used in the account create activity. Okay, so we need to use this create node menu. Okay, now let's just copy this ID. So if the save node, okay, if the item.getID is equals to ID of the save node, then we will save the node. Okay, so we are good here. Now we need to start this activity from the view class. So first we need to copy this bundle and the data, and then into the view node, if we clicked, the user clicked on update, then we will start this. Okay, then we will start the update class, but before we have to set the values of the bundle. It is node and the date, and then the node address. We do not need the date in the update activity because we are not showing it here. Okay, so the second thing we need is the node address so that we can update it in the database. And then we need to pass in the context, and then we need to start the activity, and once the activity is started, we need to finish the previous activity. Okay, now okay, it's good. Now within this update node activity, if the user click on save node, then we have to save the node. So we have to use the auth first of all. So we have to use this auth. Then we need the Firebase database, then get the instance, then the reference, then the reference to the nodes, and then the child of course would be the auth.getCurrentUser.getUID, and then the child. Okay, so the child would be unpack at this time and unpack at node address. So we will go towards the node address, and then the child, and of course it would be the node text that we want to change. So then we will set the value. Simply we will set the value. And okay, so before doing this, let's just get the value from the edit text. So node str equals to node text, or get the text, then convert it to string, then trim it so that there are no white spaces. And if the node str is empty, then we will generate the toast and ask the user to enter something. Okay, so if it is empty, generate the toast. Please enter something, and then we need to show it. Okay, if the value is not empty, if there is something to save, then we will save the node str into the database, and then we will add the success listener. So if the value is successfully added in the database, we will generate the toast. Okay, and we will say not updated. Okay, then we will finish this class, and then we need to add the failure listener as well. So if the operation is failed, then we will generate the toast, and we will say error. Okay, so now we are done with this update node activity there. Okay, so now we need to implement the child change method in the main activity. Okay, so the child value will be changed in the database, and then this on child changed method will be called. Okay, but the value in the recycler view will never change. Okay, so we have to force the recycler view to change its value. So we will copy this, and for doing this, okay, this data snapshot uh, will give us the new updated data from the database in the form of object. So we can use it like this way. So we can create an object out of it. Okay, and then let's just name it as updated node model. Okay, and then if the deleted node, or if the updated node is if is this, then we will remove it from the node model. Okay, and then we will add the, okay, so in this line we are removing the previous node model, and now we are adding the updated node model at position I, from where we have removed this. Okay, so we have to add it like this way, and then we have to update the call the notify dataset change, and then we have to break out of the loop. Okay, now there is just one thing missing, and within this main menu we need the log out item or log out button. Okay, so we'll say that title would be logout, and then ID would be logout, and then show as never. So we are good. Okay. Okay, so now copy this ID, go to the main class. Where is the main class? Here is the main activity. Now in the else we have to check if the selected ID is equals to auth.id of logout, then we have to use auth.sign out. Okay, and then we need to start the activity. So new intent, get the application context, and start the create account dot class activity, and then finish this activity. Okay, so now we are good to go. Launch the application. Okay, so we have a value. So we have our nodes within the application. Now just try to delete them. Delete the node. Okay, it's deleted, and it is also deleted from the recycler view. Now let's try to change or update this node. Okay, it is not calling the update activity, so let's just check from the view. Where it is here. We have a view activity, and we are actually calling the view node class, so we have to call the update node class. Okay, so this was the issue. Now create the application again. Okay, now click on to the first node. This is the view node class, and here we have our date, and okay, so it is not showing the way I wanted it. Like I want something like for Monday MON, and then like 30 Sep and then 2018, but it is showing both as like it is not showing the way I wanted it. Okay, I will change it, Now just try to update the note. Okay, here we go, and here it is, our cursor at the end. So try to change it, and let's say changed. So saved. We got some error. And the error is cannot pass null. Cannot pass null for argument path string in child. So we are firebase.get reference auth.get user.get uid.child unpacker.get string node address. So let's see if we are, yeah, this is the node address which we are passing. Okay, so the issue was so we were not spelling it right. We only write it as node address, and we didn't write the second s, so we have to write it like this way so that it can get the value from the unpacker. Okay, so now make sure from the adapter class, yeah, we are passing the double s, but we are only mentioning the single s here, so that's why it was passing null. So run the application. Okay, so our activity is launched. Okay, before doing anything, let me change this date. It's look awkward. So go to your storeroom store and make sure instead of triple D you use triple E. Okay, it will be the smaller version of the day, and if we add one more E, and if we use 4E, then it will be the full name for the day. Okay, so we only want the smaller version so that it fits our view. Okay, now let's try to change the value this time. Update the note, changed it, save it. Okay, so note is updated, and it is also updated within the view. Okay, let's try to add another note, save it, and here we have another note. Okay, now let's try to log out. So it is perfect. Now just run the application again so that we get this date issue resolved. Okay, just open the database and let's see what's going on here. Now try to sign in with another user @gmail. Okay, sorry, this is the user name, so we have to write test and then test 123 @gmail.com, and then password maybe 123. Okay, and if you do not want to show the password, so you can change this from your XML. So here we have account create activity. Okay, now change this password, yeah, change it to text password. Okay, so that it will, so now it will not be completely visible to the user. And similarly into this activity login, change this to text password. Okay, so now 123, now sign up. Okay, so account created. But the user information is not saved within the database. So let's just see what's the issue. Here we have database reference, then we are setting the value, still not getting anything here. So we need to implement the listener so that we can know what the issue. So add the success listener. If the value is successfully added, then we will do these things. Okay, we will finish this dialog. Okay, we should finish this dialog before. Okay, then we will generate the toast, start the activities. But if we receive any error, then we will generate the toast error, and then we will also log the error. Okay, now run the application again. So the activity is launched. Log out and copy the log key first. Open the logcat, paste the log key, and now try to sign in. Okay, so let's say test and then test 7, 8 or 8, 9, so ever. And now we need to sign in. Okay, so it's saying that the data is successfully added to the database. Okay, because otherwise if the database is insert operation is failed, then we will receive the error. Okay, so if we are starting the activity, or if the main activity is getting started, so it means that the data was successfully added to the database. So but in here there is no data, so just try to refresh the browser. Maybe there is an internet issue. Okay, so it was my internet connection. Okay, so we were not able to see the user node. Now I have refreshed the browser and here we have the values. Okay, so just log out and check this login functionality. Okay, so test123@gmail.com, then the password is test123. so login successful. So we are good to go. Our application is complete and running. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.